Welcome back to Deep Dive English. I'm your guide, and today we are fixing your fear of awkward silences.
Ah, yes. That moment, the one where the conversation just stalls.
It stalls, the room temperature seems to drop 20 degrees, and you suddenly forget how to formulate a coherent sentence.
Right, even in your native language, let alone when you're trying to operate at a B2 or C1 English level, that panic is, it's universal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you're actively working on advancing your English, that conversational pressure is multiplied, isn't it? Because you're stressed not just about what to say, but how to say it.
You want that fluidity, that nuance that marks a proficient speaker.
Exactly. So today, our mission is to transform small talk from that frustrating, paralyzing chore into a powerful, reliable social tool.
And to do that, we've assembled materials from expert communication coaches. We're looking at the kind of systematic frameworks that help people who, really struggle.
People like deep introverts, or those dealing with social anxiety.
Or even just people navigating a new cultural context. This is all about building competence through a clear strategy.
Because let's be honest, small talk gets a terrible reputation.
Oh, it really does.
It's often dismissed as just, meaningless chatter. That tedious dance you have to do at a networking event or a party before you can get to the real conversation.
And that dismissal is precisely where most people fail. They try to skip the foundation.
Right.
Our source material is really explicit on this. Small talk is anything but meaningless. Psychologically, structurally, it is the essential bridge to deep relationships.
A bridge.
Yeah,
I like
but-
that. So if you don't secure the bridge,
You never reach the destination. You never get to that deeper trust and connection.
so we need to start viewing it as a chore and start viewing it as a critical infrastructure project for our social lives.
I love that framing, an infrastructure project.
And the most beautiful part,
Yeah.
we have a systematic, actionable solution, a system that eliminates the panic by giving you a checklist. Today we introduce the core method, the F4D method. It's a cognitive architecture, a mental map that's so reliable you should never run out of conversation topics again.
We're going to spend the next 30 minutes showing you exactly how to deploy it, line by line.
Let's start by diagnosing the ailment. Why do so many capable people, especially those mastering a complex new language like English, just dread small talk?
Well, the core complaint that we see over and over in communication literature is that it feels so fake.
Fake.
It's rooted in this, a fundamental psychological desire. We are meaning-making creatures. We crave depth, purpose, true resonance.
We want to talk about the big stuff.
Exactly. As one analyst noted, people desperately want to talk about deep things, their philosophies, their traumas, their triumphs, but they rightly understand they can't just open a conversation with, so what existential dilemma are you currently grappling with?
Right. You can't just walk up to a stranger at a conference and start discussing the meaning of life.
No, it violates social norms. It bypasses that necessary phase of social vetting and risk assessment that humans instinctively go through.
You make the other person feel intruded upon.
Totally. And this creates a conversational paradox, right? The desire for authentic depth clashes with the social requirement for lightness and safety.
So if you jump too deep, too fast, you make people uncomfortable.
But if you stick only to observations about the room temperature or, the appetizers, you feel inauthentic and bored.
And that tension is where the failure happens.
It is. That failure leads directly to the moment we're trying to banish the awkward silence.
You throw out a simple question, hoping for a thread, and you get back a one-word answer.
Yes. No, it's fine.
And suddenly your mind goes completely blank. You freeze up. The pressure to find an immediate, brilliant new topic causes this, like temporary cognitive shutdown.
That freeze-up is almost entirely a phenomenon of performance anxiety. It's a fear of being judged as socially inept or uninteresting.
So if we can redefine the true role of small talk, we can reduce that anxiety.
We can, because we change the goal of the conversation.
Okay, so let's provide that context. Why is this initial, seemingly lightweight chatter so essential? What is it actually achieving beneath the surface?
It's the essential social lubricant.
Social lubricant. Okay, flesh that out for us.
Think of it in mechanical terms, like oiling the gears of an engine. You need to reduce friction in the mechanism before you can apply the power of, say, vulnerability or intimacy.
So small talk is the oil.
It's the oil. In human interaction, it's the low-stakes mechanism by which we gauge safety, tone, and a shared reality.
So on an unconscious level, we're checking a few things at once. Like, does this person's conversational pace match mine?
Right. And Do I feel safe disclosing low-risk information to them? Do we share a basic understanding of politeness and mutual respect?
It's a test run.
It is. It's the necessary first step to build trust through controlled self-disclosure. If you skip this lubricant phase, the conversational gears grind, the interaction feels effortful, and both people feel drained.
So trust is built incrementally, little by little.
Exactly. Through small, successful, low-stakes exchanges. Depth only comes later, once that foundation of trust is established.
That makes profound sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so if the foundation is built on incremental trust, then the way we engage has to reflect that. This brings us to the mindset shift.
The crucial psychological shift. This is what all our sources emphasize, regardless of their specific methodology.
And what is it?
The core lesson is this. The goal in small talk isn't to be interesting. It's to be interested.
Okay, let's unpack that, because for a B2 or C1 speaker who feels this intense pressure to perform excellent English, that sounds hugely liberating.
It is the most liberating concept in conversation. When you focus on being interesting, you shoulder all the cognitive load.
Right. I have to be funny, I have to be smart, I have to have a great story ready.
You put all that pressure on yourself to perform, to tell a captivating anecdote, use advanced vocabulary, offer the perfect witty retort. It's exhausting.
Especially when you're translating in your head at the same time.
And trying to find the perfect, culturally appropriate, witty comment in real time is often...
Well, it's functionally impossible. You end up pausing, which creates the very silence you fear.
But if you shift the focus?
If you shift the focus entirely, if your goal is genuinely to be interested in the person in front of you, the pressure immediately moves off your performance and onto your curiosity.
I become an investigator, not a performer.
Precisely. You become the guide, the one prompting their story. And the research is definitive on this. Being an active listener, dedicated to understanding the other person, is far more reliably charismatic than being the star talker.
So charisma isn't about capturing the spotlight. It's about shining the spotlight on someone else and making them feel uniquely seen and heard.
You nailed it. That is the key takeaway for anyone trying to reduce their anxiety. You don't have to perform, you just have to listen.
Okay, so if we adopt that mindset, I am here to guide and learn, then all we need are the tools, the mechanical tools to guide the conversation effectively.
Exactly, and that's what we're getting into next. All right, so we're moving from the psychological why to the tactical how. Before we can even think about deploying the full F4D system, we need an entry point.
We need a way to get the conversation started.
Simple, non-threatening tools to initiate contact. The icebreakers.
An icebreaker is just a question or an observation that acknowledges the shared environment. It gives both of you a simple, low-effort topic to start with.
It melts that initial stiffness.
Exactly. And crucially, it have to be low risk and easy to answer.
So in a professional or social setting, our sources mention the classic example. How do you know the host?
It's perfect.
Yes.
Simple, direct, and it immediately establishes context. Everyone has an easy answer.
I work with them, I'm a childhood friend, and boom, that answer immediately provides a conversational thread you can follow.
You can also use observational icebreakers. This is where a C1 speaker can really model advanced language.
Give me an example.
Instead of nice place, you could say something like, I must say, I am fascinated by the architecture of this venue. Have you noticed the way they've used the natural light?
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
It elevates the tone immediately, but the core idea is still low risk. You're just talking about the room.
Right. So once the ice is broken, we immediately hit the most critical structural problem of small talk. The distinction between question types.
This is fundamental. A non-negotiable lesson for language learners. We have to distinguish and completely eliminate closed questions.
The closed question is the ultimate conversation killer. As we defined it earlier, it's any question that can be answered with a single word.
Yes, no. A single fact. They're good for filling out a form, but...
Lethal for building rapport.
Let's use that bad example from before. Did you have a good weekend?
The socially acceptable answer, even if they spent the weekend fighting a raccoon in their attic, is usually, yes, thanks, or it was fine.
And that's a dead end. The question didn't require any thought from them, so the responsibility flips right back to you.
And that's where the stall happens, leading straight back to that fear of the awkward silence. All the cognitive load is on you again.
So the solution is to rigorously practice using open-ended questions. These are the conversation starters.
They are vital. These are questions that require a descriptive, longer answer. Most importantly, they invite storytelling.
They usually start with words that demand more information, right? Like what, how, why, or phrases like, Tell me about.
Yes. They compel the other person to select a detail, synthesize it, and narrate an experience. This is key. We want them to do the heavy lifting of narration.
And that allows us to focus on listening and formulating the next question.
Exactly.
Okay, let's practice translating. Take a closed, basic question like, are you busy with work?
A simple one. The open-ended translation should be something like, what is currently requiring the most creative problem solving in your role?
Wow, that's a huge step up.
Or, for a real C1 touch, how are you managing to prioritize the competing demands on your time these days?
That demands a much more nuanced answer. It elevates the entire conversation.
The first version asks for a status update. The second asks for insight and process.
That's a powerful distinction. And this is where that C1 speaker can really excel, right? By using more complex linguistic tools.
Yes, tools like embedded clauses and softening phrases, what linguists call hedging, to make your open questions sound sophisticated and non-confrontational.
Give us an example of hedging. How could a speaker use it to ask a sensitive open question about, say, their job?
Okay, so instead of the very direct, what is the most difficult thing about your job, which can sound like an interrogation,
Right, a bit aggressive.
a skilled C1 speaker could say, if you don't mind my asking, I'm just curious, what might you consider the biggest ongoing challenge that requires your immediate focus right now?
If you don't mind my asking, and might, I see, it softens the demand for information.
Exactly. It makes it easier for them to share. It's like a conversational shield. It prevents the stall by giving the other person permission and space to narrate, making them feel safer.
The key takeaway here is structural then. If you hear a question forming in your mind that you know can be answered with one word,
Stop immediately, rephrase it, use a what or how structure, maybe add some subtle hedging if the topic feels sensitive, and demand a descriptive answer.
this is the foundation that the F4D method is built on.
Precisely.
So we have the mindset, be interested, and we have the building blocks, open questions. Now we get to the core system, the F4D method.
This isn't just a cute acronym, it's a strategic map. It's designed to manage the cognitive load of the speaker.
It guarantees you never run out of topics.
It's so effective because it organizes conversation into 4 universal, safe, and high-interest areas of human experience. It's a reliable conversational safety net.
Because everyone has something to say about these 4 things.
Everyone does.
Okay, let's break down each letter systematically. We should give some actionable examples and talk about the risks of each category.
Let's do it. We start with F, which is for family. These are topics about their immediate family, where they're from, their current home, where they grew up.
Ooh, but that can be a minefield, can't it? Culturally, I mean. In some places, asking about family is a sign of respect. In others, like maybe a professional American setting, it can feel too intrusive, too fast.
That's an excellent point. It highlights the need for strategic phrasing. You absolutely must start light and non-invasive.
So you're not asking about their recent family drama.
Definitely not. You're asking for broad context.
Okay, give us a few tiered examples for family. Start with low risk.
Low risk F. Where are you originally based? Or, what's one thing you miss most about the place you grew up? These are safe. They're basically geography questions.
Right, not too personal. What about medium risk?
Medium risk F, using hedging. If you don't mind sharing, what's something interesting about the neighborhood you live in now? Or how have your parents influenced your career path, if at all?
And higher risk, something you'd only ask later in the conversation.
Higher risk F. What kind of traditions are most important to your family around the holidays? This assumes you've already built some comfort and rapport. The key is to test the waters with low-risk F questions first.
Got it. Okay, next up. O is for occupation. What they do for work, their studies, how they spend their professional time. This is standard networking stuff.
It is. It's typically the safest starting point in a professional context, but you have to remember, a lot of people hate their jobs.
So you can't just ask, so what do you do?
Well, you can, but it's better to ask about the process and their passion, not just their job title or status.
Okay, give us the tiered examples for occupation.
Low risk O. How did you end up getting into that line of work? That focuses on their journey, not their current feelings. Or what's one thing you've learned recently in your field that surprised you?
I like that one. It focuses on knowledge. What about medium risk, using more C1 language?
Medium risk O. Considering the current climate, what major trends do you anticipate will fundamentally shift your industry in the next 5 years? That demands high-level thinking.
That's a great question.
Or even, if your job were a Venn diagram, what are the 3 skill sets that intersect most frequently?
That's very creative. I love that. And high risk.
Higher risk O. Use with caution. If money were no concern, what aspect of your current role would you immediately delegate and why? This asks about dissatisfaction, so you need to have established some real rapport first.
That distinction between asking about the status of their job and the insight into their job is so crucial for an engaging conversation.
Absolutely. Okay, moving on to R, which is for recreation. This is what they do for fun hobbies, travel, sports, relaxation.
This one is the crowd favorite, right?
Yeah.
Our sources say to start with R if you can. Why is that?
Because when you start with R, you're immediately asking the person to think about something enjoyable, something they chose to do. It injects positive energy into the conversation right away.
It sets a welcoming tone.
Yeah.
Okay, tiered examples for recreation.
Low risk R. What's the most interesting thing you did last weekend? That's our classic highlight example. Or, do you have any trips coming up that you're really looking forward to?
Easy. Medium risk.
Medium risk R. If you had an extra hour of free time every day, what hobby would you dedicate that time to improving? This gets at their latent interests. Or, what is a book, film, or podcast you found particularly gripping recently?
And high risk.
High risk R. What is the most challenging physical feat you have accomplished and what motivated you to do it? This one asks about commitment and personal challenge.
That's a great spectrum. Okay, last one. D is for dreams. This is the aspirational part: goals, future plans, places they want to visit.
Things they hope to achieve. Dreams are excellent because they tap into optimism and motivation. They let the person talk about where they're going, which is often more exciting than where they are now.
The danger here, though, is sounding like you're conducting a job interview, right? Asking for their 5-year plan. How do we keep it conversational?
We frame it as aspiration and curiosity, not as an evaluation.
So low risk D.
Low risk D. If you could snap your fingers and master one skill instantly, what would it be? Or, where's the absolute next place on your travel list, and why is that place important to you?
Fun questions.
Medium risk.
Medium risk D, a bit more future-focused. What kind of legacy, perhaps small, are you hoping to build with your work or life choices?
Wow, that's a deep one.
It is. Or, a bit lighter, what is one thing you hope to have achieved by this time next year?
And a higher risk D.
High risk D, which is more self-reflective. What belief or habit have you successfully changed in the last year that you think will improve your future dramatically? That asks for vulnerability and self-assessment.
That is a phenomenal library of questions. Okay, let's talk strategy. I'm using the system, and I hit a brick wall in recreation. They just don't have any hobbies. How do I gracefully pivot without making it obvious I'm just running down a checklist? Ugh, the art of the pivot. The beauty of Frector is that it gives you permission to move on gracefully without panicking. If you hit a dead end on R, say, they really just watch television, you acknowledge it, and then you introduce the next topic gently with a bridging phrase.
So if they just say they watch TV.
You could say something like, that sounds like a great way to unwind. Given how demanding work can be these days, I suppose you really need that downtime. What exactly is it that you find so engaging in your occupation?
Ah, you linked the two. You used the idea of unwinding as the bridge.
Exactly.
I see. So the system manages my cognitive load. I don't need to invent a new topic from scratch. I just need to find a gentle linguistic bridge to the next letter on my internal checklist.
And that transition phrasing, that's the C1 skill we're targeting here. You're using your linguistic tools to make the systematic nature of the conversation feel completely natural and organic.
We've got the mindset, the opener, and the map. But now we get to the real secret, don't we? The technique that separates an adequate conversationalist from a genuinely charismatic one.
This is the key.
The Ford method just gives you the topics, the doors, but the follow-up question is the key that actually opens the door and keeps the engine running.
Without strong follow-up questions, the F40 method is just an interrogation. Ask about family, get answer. Ask about occupation, get answer.
It's that stop-start rhythm that feels so mechanical and awkward.
Right.
So the follow-up question is the ultimate proof of active listening. It proves you didn't just ask a pre-planned question from a list. You genuinely process their answer.
Exactly. Active listening means you are not waiting for your turn to speak. You are processing their answer and using the specific details they just gave you as the source for your next question.
And that sends a powerful signal of genuine engagement and respect.
It really does.
Okay, let's get into the mechanics of this, especially for handling short answers. This is where most people freeze up. Let's go back to that problem. You ask, what do you do for fun? That's our recreation. And person just says, I watch TV.
The conversation is stalling. A passive listener panics. They try to change the subject, jumping from R to O, treating that answer as a dead end.
But the instruction is clear.
The instruction is clear, listen to that short answer, and then ask the universal expansion-focused questions, why, or tell me more.
They seem so simple, but they're incredibly powerful for buying yourself a little time.
They are. The magic is in the commitment to not changing the topic yet. You're digging deeper into what they gave you, no matter how bland it seems. So if the answer is, I watch TV, the immediate expert follow-up is, oh, cool. What is the best show you've watched recently that you would recommend?
And notice how that just completely shifts the frame. The initial statement, I watch TV, is boring. It's a closed statement.
Right.
But your follow-up question demands narration and judgment. They have to tell you the name of a show, why they liked it, what it was about. They've been invited to tell a story.
Exactly. And once they name the show, let's say they mention a historical documentary on the Roman Empire, you now have narrative gold.
You can work with that.
Totally. You can follow up again. That sounds fascinating. Is that a period of history you've always been interested in, or is this a new curiosity for you? You are still on R, recreation, but you're 4 questions deep, using only the information they gave you.
So every detail they offer, a place, a name, an activity, an emotion, is a potential seed for your next open-ended follow-up question. You're just mining their narrative for the next prompt.
And the psychology here is so important. When you follow up like that, the other person's brain registers that you valued their previous input enough to build on it.
They feel validated.
They feel validated. It reduces their defense mechanisms, encourages them to share more, and makes them feel safe enough to move toward deeper conversational territory.
Okay, but let me introduce some friction here. What if the person is genuinely shy? Or maybe they're also speaking English as a second language. If I ask a big open-ended question like, what was the highlight of your weekend? Won't that feel like too much pressure for them?
That is a critical point and a very empathetic one. In those cases, you need to use slightly different tools. You can use echo questions or statement-based questions.
Okay, explain those.
You lead with a statement of empathy or understanding before you ask the question. This reduces the pressure on them to perform a complex answer.
Give me an example of an echo question.
Okay, so let's say they reply to your question about their work by just saying, it's stressful right now, instead of immediately firing back with, what is causing the stress, which is very direct.
Right.
You can use an echo question. You say, stressful, you say. What exactly is making the day-to-day operations so demanding?
Stressful, you say. You echo their last word. That buys you a moment of processing time, too.
It does. It's a great tool for the B2-C1 learner because it gives you a second to formulate the correct open structure while also showing you were listening.
Okay, and a statement-based question.
For that one, you might say, wow, it sounds like you need a significant mental break from that. Tell me, what kind of activities do you find most effective for completely clearing your head?
I see. You lead with a shared observation, which makes the question feel like a natural continuation, not a sudden pivot or demand.
Yes, it all circles back. The better your follow-up questions are, the more the other person feels heard, understood, and validated. This reinforces our core principle. Active listening is inherently more charismatic, and the follow-up question is the physical proof that you're actually listening.
Okay, we've built the psychological foundation and provided all the structural tools. Now let's solidify this with a demonstration.
Let's do it.
We're going to conduct 2 role-play scenarios. The first will show the quick, painful death of passive small talk. The second will be an extended demonstration using the F4D method and sophisticated follow-up questions.
And as we perform these, I encourage you, the listener, to track the cognitive load of the host speaker. In scenario 1, the host is scrambling. In scenario 2, the host should be relaxed because the system is doing the work.
Okay, scenario 1, the bad conversation. Setting the scene, we are at a crowded professional dinner. I'm approaching you. My instruction is to only use closed questions and to just passively accept your one-word answers. I'm ignoring the F4D map completely.
Got it. I'm ready to be a terrible conversation partner.
Hi there. I suppose you came straight from the office, right?
That's correct.
Was your journey here difficult? The traffic seemed heavy.
Not too bad.
That's good. Are you here with your colleagues?
I am.
I see. Do you like the hotel?
It's fine.
Did you have time to see the city?
No.
Oh. Do you live nearby?
Yes.
Slight pause.
Yeah.
Well, I should probably go check in with the organizer before the next session starts.
Sure thing.
Okay, scene, debrief. That felt genuinely painful. And I, as the host, felt immense pressure. I was just firing off these rapid-fire interrogative sentences.
And I was politely shutting down every single one. The conversation never gained any traction at all.
That
As the responder, I felt no obligation to elaborate because your questions didn't invite me to. They demanded binary information. I felt like I was being interviewed for my attendance record.
the whole interaction was transactional. We confirmed zero trust.
Zero.
Okay, let's reset completely.
Yeah.
Same location, same people, but now I'm focused on being interested. I'm going to start with R, recreation, and use high-quality, open-ended, and follow-up questions. I'm going to demonstrate the full flow.
All right, I'm ready. Let's see the good version.
Excuse me, I love the pen you're using to make notes. It looks incredibly precise.
Oh, thank you. It's actually a fountain pen, a bit old-fashioned, but I really enjoy the ritual of writing with it.
That's so interesting. I hadn't considered the ritual aspect of writing. You know, speaking of things that require dedicated time, I've been trying to force myself to take more relaxing breaks recently. What do you find yourself doing for recreation when you want to fully switch off?
I spend a good deal of my weekends outdoors, especially cycling. I
Yeah.
try to get out on the mountain trails near my town at least once a week.
Cycling on mountain trails. That sounds like a serious investment in effort and time. Tell me more about that. What is the most challenging or memorable trail you've tackled recently?
The most memorable was probably a trail up in the Pacific Northwest, very steep and technical. It took about 5 hours, and I actually had a small mechanical failure near the summit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it required some quick thinking to get the bike operational again.
Wow, 5 hours and a mechanical failure? That's intense. That level of dedication and the ability to troubleshoot under pressure is fascinating. If you don't mind my asking, is that kind of calm problem-solving ability something that spills over into your occupation? What exactly is the nature of your day-to-day work?
It absolutely does. I work as a systems analyst for a major financial institution, so my day is essentially all about troubleshooting complex data flows and predicting failure points before they become catastrophic.
I see the connection.
It's all highly detail-oriented and requires a lot of patience, much like repairing a bike on a steep mountain path.
Predicting failure points. That sounds incredibly high stakes. If you had to identify one specific recent challenge in data analytics that is keeping your team awake at night, what might that be?
The thing that's currently most demanding is adapting our legacy systems to handle the sheer velocity of incoming, unstructured social media data. It's a massive infrastructure challenge, and we're constantly trying to decide whether to rebuild or just keep patching the existing systems.
Unstructured data handling. That must be daunting. It sounds like a major project that would require so much commitment. I suppose that requires you to look ahead constantly. Does thinking about large-scale future planning like that naturally lead you toward long-term dreams or goals for your personal life as well?
It does, actually. I've realized that the infrastructure challenge at work has made me think about my own personal infrastructure. I'm hoping to transition to working 4 days a week within the next 2 years so I can dedicate more time to teaching others how to handle data security. That's my long-term dream.
Teaching data security. That's wonderful. What specifically sparked that passion for teaching? Was there a mentor in your family or your past that inspired that desire to educate others?
Yes, actually. My grandfather was a high school teacher, and he always emphasized that knowledge, especially technical knowledge, shouldn't be hoarded. He was a huge influence on me growing up.
Okay, debrief. We just moved seamlessly across R, O, D, and F. We avoided every single awkward silence for, almost 3 minutes. Why did that flow so differently?
It flowed because you maintained situational awareness of the F4D map, but you didn't ask the map. You asked about me.
Right.
Every question was a customized continuation of my last answer. When I mentioned the mechanical failure on the mountain bike, you used that specific detail, the need for calm troubleshooting to bridge to my occupation.
My cognitive load was managed because I didn't need to generate a new topic. I only needed to listen for one narrative detail and use that detail. Plus, my C1 bridging phrases like, if you don't mind my asking, to smoothly guide the conversation.
And critically, as the responder, I felt incredibly engaged. You listened to me talk about mountain bike repairs, and you respected that story enough to assume the skills were transferable to my professional life.
And that sense of validation, the feeling of being truly heard, is what makes small talk feel authentic and not fake.
The follow-up question is the engine of authenticity.
We didn't just ask about your job. We explored the connection between your patience on a mountain trail and your success in finance. That's a connection you might not have even articulated yourself before.
And notice the use of the linguistic tools throughout. The host used, if you don't mind my asking, I suppose, and what might. which signals competence and politeness. It makes the exchange feel low risk even when we're discussing high-risk topics like future goals or work challenges.
For you, the B2-C1 learner, this role play demonstrates that conversational success is about structure, not spontaneity. Rely on the map, focus on listening, and use those follow-up questions to keep the narrative fire-stoked.
That's the whole system in action.
We've completed a comprehensive deep dive. We've moved from the psychological barrier of the awkward silence all the way to the systematic mechanics of keeping a dialogue flowing naturally. Let's rapidly review the core, actionable lessons you can implement today.
First, perform that mindset shift. Redefine small talk. It is not meaningless chatter. It is the necessary social lubricant and the bridge to deep connection.
And your goal is to be interested, not interesting.
Exactly.
Second, eliminate the conversational bottlenecks. Always use open-ended questions. Questions that start with what or how and demand a story, never just a yes or no.
And practice those sophisticated hard phrases like, if you don't mind me asking, to soften your approach.
Third, rely on the structural safety net. The OKR method. Family, occupation, recreation, dreams. Use this as your cognitive checklist.
Start with the low-stakes, positive area of recreation if you can, and pivot systematically using smooth linguistic bridges when a topic runs dry.
And fourth, a secret weapon that proves your engagement. The relentless use of the follow-up question.
Show you're actively listening by mining their answers for detail and asking why, or that tactical phrase, tell me more about that specific detail. Use their words to form your next open question. It minimizes your cognitive load.
For those of you practicing English, every single conversation is a high-value practice session in fluency and social competence.
Mastering these techniques means you're not just practicing grammar, you are practicing sophisticated narrative guidance, which is the true hallmark of a C1 speaker.
And remember, if you feel the pressure building, just use an echo question. Stressful, you say. It will buy you 3 seconds of processing time to formulate your next open-ended follow-up. The system is designed to work even under pressure.
So we'll leave you with this final provocative thought for reflection. If small talk really is the bridge to deep relationships, consider what profound, fascinating connections, what incredible stories and insights you might be missing simply by staying silent or freezing up at the start.
The system is now in your hands.
Go out and try to build one bridge today.